Fundamentals of Chinese 2, Unit 4, Studying Chinese. How did you do on the exam? Understand it. Turn to pages 176 and 177 in your textbook and have a pen or pencil ready to take notes. Okay, Wang Peng and Leo are together having a conversation. And so there's a little introduction to what's happening here in parentheses, and it says Wang Peng 跟 Leo 说话. 说话 is a new piece of vocabulary for you. 说话, 说话. 说话 means to talk. To talk. So you're familiar with this 跟. So we have Wang Peng 跟 Leo 说话. So what does that mean? Pause and write down a translation. Okay, so if you came up with Wang Peng is talking with Leo, then you came up with a pretty accurate translation. Remember, Chinese word order is often different. So in this case, when you're saying one person is talking with the other, or with most verbs, when it's one person is doing something with the other person, the verb comes at the very end, and then you have the person A and person B with this gen preposition in the middle. Wang Peng 跟 Leo 说话, or Wang Peng 跟 Leo 看电影. Wang Peng and Leo are watching a movie. Wang Peng 跟 Leo 吃饭. Wang Peng is eating with Leo. Or Wang Peng 跟 Leo 跳舞. So Wang Peng is dancing with Leo. So think about this word order, imprint it into your brain. Two people doing something with each other. Person A, gun person B, and then the verb. Alright, next in our dialogue, we have Wang Peng saying, Leo, 你上个星期考试考得怎么样? Okay, now here's some new tricky grammar. Well, before we get to the tricky grammar, let's take a look at this. 上个, 上个. Okay, so 上个 means the previous one or the last one. The previous one or the last one. So you'll remember 星期 means week. So 你上个星期. Okay, 上个星期 last. 星期上个星期. Okay, last week. Okay, now we come up with the new grammar. Now, real quick, look down here. Just a quick little grammar refresher to give you some context. Is in English, we have adjectives and we have adverbs. And adjectives are used to describe people, places, and things, right? They describe nouns, okay? But adverbs, they also describe, but they describe verbs, okay? So, for example, here we have an adjective, slow. She is slow, okay? So slow is an adjective, and it describes this individual here as being slow, okay? And then in a question, we would say, how slow is she? Okay, she is slow. Now, an adverb modifies not a person or a noun, but it modifies a verb. So she is reading slowly, okay? So in this case, it's not, the slowly isn't modifying she, slowly is modifying reading. She is reading slowly, reading slowly. So slowly is an adverb, and adverbs are used to modify a verb. So you have an activity represented by a verb, and then the adverb tells you, describes how that activity is being done. In this case, the activity is reading, and it's being done slowly. And you can always tell adverbs in English, or most adverbs, not all of them, but you can tell them because they have an ly on the end. And that's how we know that this is an adverb. Okay, and then you could have the question, how slow does she read? Okay, so with that bit of a background, let's come back up here. We have Leo, 你上个星期考试考得怎么样? Okay, 上个星期考试考得怎么样? So let's focus what I have in red here. Here, we could add in this ni, you. 你考得怎么样? Okay, so this 考得怎么样 means how well did you do on the test? Okay, now 考 you know is test. Okay, 的 is a particle that is used in order to introduce an adverb. Okay, so you have a verb 考, then you have a de that comes after a verb. So this de tells you that what comes after it is describing the verb that comes before it. Okay, so we have test, how well. Okay, test, how well. 怎么样? You've learned that 怎么样 can mean like, how about that? What do you think of that, right? But 怎么样 can also have the meaning of like, how well. How well was something done in this case, okay? So 考 is test. De is the particle saying, watch out everyone, here comes an adverb, right? And then after it is the adverb. Now in this case it's a question. So it's you test how well. Okay, and translated in the proper English, we have how well did you do? How well did you do on the test? Okay, now what you want to do right now is pause the video and go to pages 179 and 180 in the textbook and look at grammar point 1 and read through grammar point 1 very carefully. It's going to explain adverbs in Chinese and how this de is being used with it. Okay, and this is going to appear a couple more times in this dialogue, so I suggest you pause this now, go to page 179, 180, and read grammar point 1. Okay, you're back. Now, before we continue with the dialogue, let's just look at some more examples. Okay, you'll notice that in asking this question, the verb is repeated twice. So just like back here, right? 上个星期考试, right? 考试 test, and then this 考 is repeated. 考试考得怎么样? So that's just the way Chinese grammar works in this case. So here we have a sentence. 你睡觉睡得怎么样? Okay, so you sleep how well. And you'll notice in the adverbial question that follows it, you'll notice that the jiao is dropped off here. Okay, with this particular verb, you can drop it off. So, 你睡觉睡得怎么样? How well did you sleep? Is the question. Here we have 吃. Okay. In this case, I just have it one. The verb's not repeating. 你吃得怎么样? 你吃得怎么样? How well did you eat? You could also say 你吃饭吃得怎么样? Okay, and have the repeating appear. Equally, you could just say 你睡得怎么样? You could just say that. 你睡得怎么样? How well did you sleep? But sometimes they like to put in the verb and then repeat it. Here's another example. 你打球打得怎么样? How well did you play ball? How well did you play sports? 你打球打得怎么样? Okay. Here's dancing. 你跳舞跳得怎么样? You dancing. How well do you dance? Dance how well? You dancing. Dance how well? Okay. So there's just some more examples of questions, adverb questions. Let's move on. Okay, so back to our sentence, our original sentence. Leo, 你上个星期考试考得怎么样? So pause and write down the translation of this sentence. It shouldn't be any problem for you. Right. Hopefully you came up with Leo. How did you do on last week's exam? Leo, how did you do on last week's exam? Leo, 你上个星期考试考得怎么样? Now you may have had some variation of this, but as long as the meaning was Leo, last week, or the exam you took last week, or whatever, last week, how well did you do on that exam? Leo responds, 因为你帮我复习，所以考得不错。但是我写中文字写得太慢了。Okay, so first let's take a look at 复习。复 fourth tone, 习 second tone. 复习 okay, 复习is to review. 复习 means to review, like review for an exam. So let's take this piece by piece. 因为你帮我复习. So what do you think that first part means? 因为你帮我复习. Okay. 因为你帮我复习，所以考得不错. So here we have a verb and adverb again. So we have 考, right? 考得不错. So the meaning is I tested well. That's the literal meaning. Now, when translating between Chinese and English, here's a new problem you're going to have. Is in Chinese, they prefer to talk about, how well someone did on the test by having the adverb modifying the verb. Okay, I tested well. We can say that in English, I tested well, but we never say that. We say I did well on the test. So we use an adjective and say we're the good ones. I did good on the test. I did good on the ski competition, or I did good at the ski competition. Okay, so we express ourselves differently. So in this circumstance, in English, we like to say I did well on something or at something. Okay, but in Chinese, they don't say I did well. They say I verb, adverb. I skied well. I tested well. I ate well. I competed well at the chess competition or something like that. Okay, so one language likes using adjectives to express these kinds of things, in the other languages where it's focused on the individual, and the other language likes to modify the verb instead of the individual. So that's just something you're going to have to keep in mind and get used to. So here we have 考得不错. So you remember 不错 means not bad. 不错. So we have test, and then the de, we have test, and then the de, which connects a verb with its adverb. Remember, this de particle really has no meaning. It doesn't have any meaning in and of itself. It's a connector. It's a connector, and it's connecting the verb and the adverb that's modifying the verb. So, test, not bad. Test, not bad. So, 我, you could put a 我 in front of here. 我考得不错. I test, not bad. Or I tested well. Okay. Now, a better English translation would be the way you would normally say it. If you were talking to your classmates about a test and your performance on it, you would say, I did well on the test. Right? The Chinese say, I tested well. Okay. Next on here, 因为你帮我复习，所以考得不错，但是我写中国字写得太慢了. Okay, so here we have 我写中国字. Okay, so here it is again with adverbs. I write Chinese characters 写得太慢了. So, I write too slow. I write Chinese characters too slow. Okay, so I write Chinese characters too slow. So you have verb, write, the adverb connector, the, then 太慢了, too slow. 我写的太慢了. I write too slow. Okay, now here we see le again. Now you've seen le being used on the end of a verb to tell us that that verb has been completed, kind of like a past tense, but it's just telling us that the verb's been completed. Okay, here you see a little construction. This is a construction that you can memorize and use often. Okay, 太慢了. So 太 means too, like too much. So here's the formula. 太, adjective, 了. And all it means is too slow. 太, adjective, 了. You can replace this adjective, substitute it with any other adjective, and you can have too hot, too cold, I'm too hungry, it's too fast, it's too slow, it's too early, it's too late, right? You can put almost any adjective in here, and you can have the expression, it's too expensive, it's too cheap, it's too hot, it's too cold. So you could have 太cold了, 太hot了, 太expensive了, 太slow了, 太fast了. So it's a little construction. So don't worry about what le means here. Just know that this is a little grammar formula, a little phrasal formula that you can now use in many different contexts to express that something is too much. Okay? So now you know enough to think about what this whole sentence means. 因为你帮我复习，所以考得不错。但是我写中国字写得太慢了. So pause and write down what you think this sentence means. Okay, hopefully you came up with something close to this. Remember, it may have been different, but as long as the meaning is there. Because you helped me review, 因为你帮我复习, I did pretty well. 所以 Therefore, 所以考得不错. I tested well. Right? But I am too slow at writing the Chinese characters. 但是我写中国字写得太慢了. Now, here's where word order is just all out of whack. Okay? I am too slow at writing Chinese characters. And in Chinese, the word order and way of expressing, but I write Chinese characters write slowly. So very different word order. So you need to go through a process of getting used to this new word order. The best way to do that is to repeat these sentences like 100 times over and over again until your brain accepts it. It's like brainwashing yourself almost into accepting a new way of expressing yourself. Hi, Wang Peng says, 是吗? 以后我跟你一起练习写字，好不好? Okay, you should have no problem with this. There's nothing new here. 是吗? 以后我跟你一起练习写字，好不好? So pause and write down what you think this means. Alright, hopefully you came up with, really, 是吗? I'll practice writing characters with you from now on. How's that? Or, literally, let's take a look at this literally. 是吗? Really? Later, 以后 is later. Later, I, with you, 一起, together. 一起 means together. I, with you, together, practice writing characters. How about that? Alright. Next, Leo comes back and says, 那太好了. 我们现在就写，怎么样? Okay. Now first, before we take a look at this 就, notice here's the tai and then adjective, and then 了,太好了. You've seen that before. Okay? We just saw it with 太慢了, too slow. Okay? In this case, it's a good thing. Usually you're saying too slow, too fast, too hot, too cold. You're complaining. But here's the exception. 太好了 is you're saying, wow, it's too great. Isn't that really great? 只有 Geo is used before a verb to express quickness. Okay, so here you have 我们现在写 we right now, or we right now write. Okay, and now Leo wants to express the urgency or the immediacy of this writing. She wants it to happen right now, like let's not wait a moment longer. Let's not hesitate anymore. Let's get a pen and paper out and do this writing right now. And in order to express that, the Chinese like to use this 就. Okay? 那太好了,我们现在就写. Okay? 怎么样? Right? So pause and write down what you think the meaning of this is. And you may also want to pause and go to page 181 and 182 and look at grammar point 3. Grammar point 3 is going to explain in more detail 就. So hopefully you came up with something close to this. That would be great. That's the 那太好了. That would be great. 那太好了. Let's do it right now, okay? 我们现在就写怎么样? Alright, Wang Peng says, 好,给我一支笔,一张纸,写什么字? Okay, so first we have this 一支笔. Okay, so 笔 means pen or pencil, a pen or a pencil, or writing utensil. 笔. Okay, 支 is a measure word, is the measure word for a writing utensil. So you've learned 个 like 一个, right? 一个 something, 两个 something, 三个 something, right? 1, 2, 3, whatever. Okay, when you're talking about pens, you can't say 一个笔, 两个笔, 三个笔, 1 pen, 2 pens, 3 pens. Okay, the Chinese, they have different measure words for different nouns, and you're supposed to use those measure words for those nouns. Okay, English actually has measure words like a flock of sheep or a herd of cattle, a dozen eggs, a flock of seagulls, you know, this kind of thing, right? We have our own measure words, a pack of cigarettes, and so on, kind of like that. And so Chinese has measure words for certain objects, and you have to remember these measure words together with the noun. So 笔 means pen, and 支 is just the measure word. So 一, this should be first tone. 一支笔 just means a pen. Okay. Now we have 给我一支笔. Okay. So this is just give me a pen. Now, take a look at grammar point 4. You may want to pause right now and go take a look at grammar point 4. And it just goes over the idea of double objects. Okay? So usually after a verb, in the most simple form of grammar, you have one object after a verb. 给我, give me, right? You could put a 你 in here. 你给我. You give me a pen. All right? Subject, verb, object. 你给我. Subject, verb, object. Well, in this case, it's a double object. You have the verb 给, you have the object 我, and then you have another object, a pen. So it's just a double object. And in Chinese, generally when you have double objects, they just follow each other, one right after the other, without anything else in between them. Okay. 给我一支笔. You may want to pause and just take a look at that. All right, 一张纸. So just like 一支笔, we have 一张纸. Okay, 一张纸, and that's a piece of paper. So 纸 is paper, and 张 is the measure word that Chinese use for paper. Kind of like a piece of paper. Okay, 一张纸. So a pen and a piece of paper. 一张纸. Okay, 给我一支笔，一张纸. Okay, so pay close attention to this. Give me a pen and a piece of paper. We would say, give me a pen and a piece of paper in English. But notice how in Chinese, they don't have an and. It's just, 给我一支笔，一张纸. Give me a pen and some paper. Now, what does this mean? You have everything you need to know here now, so pause this and write down a translation. Alright, so hopefully you came up with something close to, okay, give me a pen and a piece of paper. What character should we write? Right? 写什么字? Write what character? What character should we write? So Leo says, 你教我怎么写懂字吧. 你教我怎么写懂字吧. Okay? 懂 means to understand. Right? So I could ask you, 你懂吗? Do you understand? 你懂吗? Do you understand? You could respond by saying, 我懂, I understand. Or you could respond by saying, 我不懂, I don't understand. 你懂吗? Do you understand? 我懂, I understand. 我不懂, I don't understand. So you have enough here. 你教我怎么写懂字吧. Pause and write down what you think that means. Alright, why don't you teach me how to write the character 懂? Okay? And 怎么 you remember is how. 怎么? How吧? Alright. Write down what you think that means. Pause and write it down. Pretty simple. Okay. Alright. Next we have 你写字写得真好真快. So we have this repeating of the verb with the second part of it adding an adverb to it with the. 你写字写得真好真快. Okay? 写得真好. Right? You write very well. You write very well. Write, and then you have the connector connecting the verb with its adverb. Write very good. Or write very well. Jen, you remember, is almost like very. You know, you've learned 很好, right? But there's also this Jen. And why don't you pause right now and go look at Grammar Point 2 on page 180 and 181, and it will talk about Jen. So what does this mean? 你写字写得真好，真快. So you remember 快 means fast. So you write characters really well and very fast too. Okay? There's no to in this sentence. See this to here? There's no to in the Chinese version. We just added it in the English version because we can. Doesn't matter. 你写字写得真好. Alright. Wang Peng comes back and says, 哪里哪里? 你明天有中文课吗? 我帮你预习. Okay, so first in this sentence we have 哪里哪里. Now, directly translated, 哪里 means where. Okay? Where are you? 哪里? 你在哪里? Where are you? 哪里. So in this case, though, 哪里 is an expression of humility. If someone praises you and you want to express humility, then you can say 哪里. So Leo just told him that he writes very well and very fast, and so he wants to express humility, and he says 哪里. All right, and then next in the sentence, 哪里，你明天有中文课吗？我帮你预习. We have 预习. Okay, 预习. 预习 means to preview. 预习 means to preview. You means to do something beforehand. 习, you remember, means study. So to study beforehand. In this case, preview. 预习. Pay attention to this you being pronounced. That you is kind of like a French you. You have to purse your lips, and we'll, in the pronunciation video, we'll go over this. But you purse your lips like you're going to kiss someone, almost. Well, not really pucker them, but purse them. And say 预习. Okay. So what does this mean? Pause and write down what you think this sentence means. Hopefully you came up with something close to this. You flatter me, or you could have had several variations of that, as long as the meaning was right on. Do you have Chinese class tomorrow? I'll help you prepare for it. Alright, next we have 明天我们学第七课的语法很容易，我都懂，可是生词太多，汉字也有一点儿难. Okay, so there's quite a bit here. Let's start with 第. 第 comes before a number. In this case, it's coming before the number 7. 第七课. 第 is put before a number to make it ordinal. Ordinal numbers in English are the numbers that have the ST, ND, RD after it. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 20th, 50th, the 100th, the millionth. Okay? These are ordinal numbers. Incidentally, in a textbook, we say lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. In a Chinese textbook, they say the first lesson, the second lesson, the third lesson, the fourth lesson, etc. So Leo is saying that tomorrow they're going to study the 7th lesson, 第七课. Okay? Why don't you take a look at the grammar note number 5. Not sure what page it's on right now. Pause this video and go have a look at grammar note number 5. Okay, 语法. Okay, this is not the same yu as we just saw. That yu is yu, and it means to beforehand, to do something beforehand, to predict or so do beforehand. Yu. This is yu. So same pronunciation, but third tone. Yu, 语法, 语法, 语法. And because it's 2 third tones, this one becomes a second tone. 语法. 语法 means grammar. 语法. 第七课的语法. 第七课的语法很容易. So what does 容易 mean, right? We have the lesson 7 grammar. Lesson 7 grammar is what? 容易. Let's see what that 容易 is. 容易 means easy. 第七课的语法很容易. Okay. Then we have 生词. 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 词 means a word. 词. And 生词 is a word that the Chinese use for new vocabulary. 生词. 可是生词太多. 太多. 生词太多. Right. 多 means you've learned 多 before. Too much, too many. 多. Finally, here we have 汉字. Oh, actually, we have a little bit more coming, but right now we have 汉字. 汉字 means Chinese characters. Han is the word for Chinese people. 字 is uh, is the word for word or character, Chinese pictograph character. 汉字 is Chinese characters. Finally, in here we have 难. 难 means difficult. So what does this mean? Pause and write down what you think it means. We have 明天我们学第七课. 第七课的语法很容易，我都懂。可是生词太多，汉字也有点难。What does this mean? Okay, tomorrow we'll study lesson 7. 明天我们学第七课. Okay, then we have the grammar for lesson 7 is easy. 第七课的语法很容易. Okay, and here they're using the as a possessive, right? The grammar of lesson 7, the. Remember this the makes it possessive. 我的电话, my phone, right? This is 第七课的语法. It's lesson 7's grammar. Okay, not lesson 6's grammar, it's lesson 7's grammar. 第七课的语法. I can understand all of it. 我都懂 all of it. Do means all. 我都懂. I understand everything. I understand all of it. But there are too many new words. 生词太多. And the Chinese characters are a bit difficult. 汉字也有点难. Finally, we have 没问题,我帮你. This you should all know. Write down a meaning for this. Pause and write down the meaning for this. 没问题,我帮你. No problem, I'll help you. And that concludes this lesson.